Updated August 12, 2018, 11 hours 16 minutes and 26 seconds. For the second time in as many years, West Coast beats Port Adelaide in Adelaide with a kick after the siren, while the Hawks held off the Cats in a ripper and the injury-pillaged Giants beat the Crows. McGovern's nerves of steel give power. Familiar sinking feeling. West Coast's Jeremy McGovern has kicked a goal after the final siren to steal a 4-point AFL win against an injury-cursed Port Adelaide. McGovern converted a set shot from about 40 metres to deliver a 9.862 to 9.458 victory on Saturday at Adelaide Oval. McGovern's goal came from an almost identical spot to teammate Luke Shuey's match winner against Port after the final siren of extra time in last year's elimination final. The Eagles booted the last 4 goals of Saturday's game to overrun a depleted Port side which lost 3 players to injury in the third quarter. Ruckman Paddy Ryder hurt a hit, key forward Charlie Dixon's right ankle twisted horribly in a marking contest and Dan Houston was knocked out. Dixon and Houston's injuries occurred within 30 seconds. The former was helped from the ground by trainers as the latter was being stretchered off after colliding with Eagle Brendan Archie. Port's Aidan Johnson, who kicked 3 goals, could also face match review scrutiny for a late hit which floored Tom Cole with seconds remaining in the dramatic third term. Johnson's indiscretion was penalised with a free kick, just as his teammate Chad Wingard scored a goal which would have put the Power 21 points up at three-quarter time. Instead, a depleted Port took a 15-point lead into the final quarter and then tried to repel waves of Eagle attacks. West Coast blew a series of scoring chances before a Mark Lacroix goal put them within 2 points with 43 seconds remaining. And McGovern then marked a Scott Lysette kick with 20 seconds to go, before converting after the siren. The victory means the second-placed Eagles can't drop out of the top 4 entering the finals. The Power cling to 7th position but could slide outside the top 8 by round's end. Port's spate of injuries were telling. The home side led by 28 points 10 minutes into the third quarter before losing the trio. From that time, the Power mustered just 2 points as West Coast charged. Eagle Jamie Cripps booted 3 goals and Shuey collected a game-high 31 disposals in an influential display. His teammates Elliot Yeo, 26 touches, Lacroix, 24 disposals, Jack Redden, 24 possessions, and Dom Sheed, 22 disposals, were also prominent. Port winger Jarrard Palek, 24 disposals, continued his stellar season. Midfielder Ollie Wines, 27 possessions, was outstanding, as was defender Tom Jonas, 30 touches. Giants injury crisis worsens in tough win over Crows. An injury hit GWS has consolidated its spot in the AFL top 4 while ending Adelaide's season in Canberra by 14 points. The Giants' 13th victory of the season was hard-fought as the Crows' slim finals hopes were on the line, but Leon Camerons held on to win 15.16, 106 to 13.14, 92. But GWS' cursed run with injury has continued as veteran defender Heath Shaw, knee, All-Australian midfielder Josh Kelly, concussion, and Sam Reid, hamstring, all failed to see out the match. Kelly was knocked out after a heavy tackle from Crows skipper Taylor Walker in the third quarter that is certain to draw attention from the match review officer. But Shaw's injury appears to be the worst of the lot. Shaw went down midway through the final quarter and was taken from Manuka Oval on a medicab in a concerning sign for the 32-year-old. Despite being down to one fit player on the bench, GWS was able to hold out a determined Crows team, desperate to avoid missing the top 8 following a grand final appearance last year. Nothing separated the sides in the first half, but a Jacob Hopper goal just before three-quarter time saw the Giants take an 11-point lead into the final change. After a tense final term, Hopper again popped up to kick the sealer with 5 minutes to go, taking the Giants to a 21-point lead. Former number 1 draft pick Lachie Whitfield, 30 possessions, and co-captain Callan Ward were shining lights for the Giants, while Jeremy Cameron, Harry Himmelberg, Aidan Bona, Stephen Connolly and Hopper booted 2 goals each. A major positive for the Crows was the performance of Brodie Smith, who collected 29 touches in his second game back from ACL surgery, while spearhead Josh Jenkins finished with 3 goals. Pies overrun Lions after half-time. Star forward Jordan De Goey has returned from injury in style, booting 4 goals to help Collingwood to a 31-point AFL win over Brisbane. The Magpies made a sluggish start but dominated the wayward Lions in Saturday night's second half to cruise to a 14.20, 104 to 11.7, 73 victory. Prime movers Taylor Adams, 33 disposals, 8 clearances, and steals side-bottom starred in the midfield, while Brodie Mihotchek, 3 goals, and Jaden Stevenson, 2, also impressed. The win leaves Collingwood 5th on the ladder ahead of a big game against 7th-placed Port Adelaide at the MCG next week. Brisbane went a man down midway through the first term when key defender Darcy Gardner dislocated his shoulder in an innocuous marking contest with De Goey. Nick Robertson was handed the job on De Goey after Gardner went down and was well beaten by the Magpies' young gun, who played a deep forward role after missing the past 2 games, with a stress injury in his lower leg. A fit De Goey looms as the Magpies' most important player in September, given his ability to impact games up forward and in the midfield. Brisbane had by far the better start but were made to pay for their wasteful ball use and frequent turnovers out of its defensive 50. The Lions had the first 2 goals of the game and led the inside 50 count 14-1 midway through the opening term. Collingwood ramped up its forward pressure in the second term and was rewarded with a 3-point lead at half-time. Turnovers continued to kill the Lions, with normally reliable veteran Luke Hodge responsible for some glaring errors. The third term was played almost entirely in Collingwood's forward 50 and the Lions never looked like recovering despite their promising start. Top draft picks Cam Rayner and Hugh McGovern both showed glimpses of their talent during the Lions' strong first half. The bullocking Rayner smothered a clearing kick, then followed up by winning his own ball and dishing a handball to Daniel McStay, who kicked truly. McGovern then evaded his man with a classy sidestep before nailing a pinpoint pass to McStay for a set-shot goal to extend the Lions' lead. Dane Beams, 33 touches, fought a lone hand in the midfield for the Lions, while Harris Andrews racked up 11 marks and held Mason Cox goalless. Hawks hold on to beat Cats in yet another thriller. Hawthorn is eyeing a top 4 AFL finish after holding off a late Geelong rally to score a nail-biting 11-point win at the MCG. Hawks star Jaeger O'Meara sealed the 10.11, 71 to 8.12, 60 win in front of 59,529 fans by kicking the last goal of the day with just under a minute remaining. The Cats trailed by 26 points at three-quarter time on Saturday but slashed the margin to 8 points with 8 minutes remaining to set up a frantic finale. Geelong's spearhead Tom Hawkins had the chance to make it a 1-point game with just more than 3 minutes left but missed a set shot from well inside 50. The narrow result leaves the Cats outside the 8 and in a dogfight to make the finals. Hawks ball magnate Tom Mitchell had to contend with some close checking from Scott Selwood but was influential with 32 possessions. Evergreen veteran Sean Burgoyne was also outstanding with 20 touches and 13 tackles. Patrick Dangerfield starred for the Cats with 40 possessions, with Gary Ablett important with 32 disposals and 3 goals. The Hawks suffered a blow before the opening bounce when skipper Jarrard Roughhead was ruled out with a sore ankle. His absence from the attacking 50 was apparent early as Hawthorn went goalless in the first term. Hawkins lifted a lacklustre start with the first goal 18 minutes in, helping the Cats to a 12-point lead at the first break. Geelong ruckman Rhys Stanley limped out of the game in the second quarter, which coincided with a big lift in intensity from Alastair Clarkson's men. Isaac Smith led the charge with 2 majors in a 5-goals-to-0 quarter that put the Hawks up by 20 points at half-time. Ablett added 2 goals in the third, but the Hawks extended their lead to 26 points at the last change. But as is so often the case in the storied rivalry between these clubs, a thrilling finale ensued as Geelong finished full of running. Hawthorn will take on St Kilda at Docklands Stadium in round 22 and the Cats will host Fremantle at Cardinia Park. Revolt runs rampant against Suns. Jack Revolt bagged 10 goals as Richmond strolled to an easy 74-point AFL victory over a hapless Gold Coast. The Tigers were unbackable favourites heading into Saturday's clash and, true to form, looked a class or two above the battling Suns despite never really playing at full throttle. An utterly dominant Revolt led the way, finishing with 10.6 to easily outscore Gold Coast off his own boot. The biggest haul from any AFL player this season saw Revolt leapfrog North Melbourne's Ben Brown into first place on the Coleman Medal leaderboard, with his tally for the year now 58. He had 26 disposals all up and grabbed 12 marks inside 50 to comprehensively towel up his direct opponent Stephen May. Revolt kicked Richmond's first 4 goals of the match and could have had 7 in the first quarter alone had he been a little more accurate. His teammates set him up for his 10th with a chain of handballs with only seconds left on the clock. Former Suns midfielder Josh Caddy chipped in with 4 goals, one of them directly assisted by Riewoldt. The 19.11, 125 to 7.9, 51 win is the first for the reigning premiers outside of Victoria this season. Their 4 defeats have all come interstate. Not that this one felt like it was interstate. Most of the 18,102-strong crowd was wearing yellow and black and lapping up every moment, particularly the ones involving Riewoldt. Gold Coast wasn't disgraced but simply didn't have the firepower to stay with Richmond despite its best efforts. The Suns trailed by 30 points at the main break, but the floodgates were broken open in the third term, as the Tigers kicked 7 goals, 3 of them through Riewoldt, while holding the Suns goalless. Instead of dropping off, Gold Coast kept up with Richmond's scoring pace in the final quarter to ensure the damage wasn't as bad as it could have been. AFL Ladder Match, AAP Topics, Australian Football League, Sport, Australia first posted August 11, 2018 13 hours 7 minutes and 12 seconds.